To me, what's really also interesting and showing the level of hypocrisy and how this administration, this party, this president has no integrity is by pardoning his son after years of saying, oh, the Department of Justice is not weaponized, it's not politicized, there's no lawfare in this country. He's undoing all of that, being like, well, I guess the Department of Justice was politicized, can be politicized, or they don't have, law is not absolute in this country. I have to step in and protect my son. It shows he doesn't believe in any of these institutions.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Just a catching strays over here.
You're in for a hell of a show.
Keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs.
It's time for our main event.
Well, good Tuesday to you. We are well into the holiday season. Welcome back to the Ruthless Variety program. Josh Holmes, comfortably smug. Michael, Duncan, John Ashbrook, left to right across your radio dial. As always, I trust that everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. It seems as though tens of thousands of you took some advice from the Variety program.
I mean, everyone had a lot to be thankful for, a lot to spike the football about. I'm sure everyone just had an absolute ball with that. I know I did.
Yeah, I did too. I guess my only regret is I didn't have any libs at my house to dunk on.
I didn't have a single lib to dunk on.
No consternation at all in the Duncan home.
We didn't have any libs either, but I did look at Twitter, and there was one account who sent us a video of the entire family doing the Trump dance around the Thanksgiving table.
Yeah.
I mean, like, our audience is the absolute
The best.
best.
They really are.
The best. You guys took it seriously. For those OGs that have been around since day one, I think we can all admit this is one of the best things that we do. I mean, it's just fun. You provide a little bit of an outline of how you can handle people who maybe don't see the world your way and have encroached on your territory over the world, and you can push back a little bit. And it seems like everybody did.
Yeah, and it's extra special when we had just a resounding victory to celebrate. So
no question about it. Well, we're not without news here on the Variety program. We're going to cover this with the Hunter Biden pardon. Clearly,
It's just the best.
we have things to say. We're going to cover a little bit. There's a little deep state 2.0 situation going on that we're going to take a look at. We've got some variety here. So sit back, relax, and enjoy yourselves, and let's get into this right off the bat. We're going to be talking about the Hunter Biden pardon. Fellas, were any of you surprised by this?
No. Not even the least bit, because this is the same guy who told us that inflation was transitory, that the border was secure, that Afghanistan was no problem, and his staff was like, yeah, this guy actually has it all together. No, it's just a stutter. No, it's just he's just a little bit tired. No, the Robert Hur thing was a lie. No, he's going to be our nominee. We are not going to switch him out. Lie after lie after lie from this administration. I would have expected nothing less than Hunter Biden to be part.
I think that's about right.
yeah,
But look, according to the news, this is from Semaphore. President Joe Biden issued a full and unconditional pardon for his son Hunter, who is due to be sentenced next week on federal gun and tax convictions. The elder Biden, who had previously insisted he would not pardon his son or commute his sentence, said that Hunter had been singled out only because he was his son.
So that's my favorite part in all this. Is like basically Joe Biden, after saying nobody's above the law,
A political prosecution?
right, is now talking about how this was all a witch hunt. This was a witch hunt. This was lawfare. This was a targeted prosecution against my son. And I mean, like, not only is he a liar, right, but while the Democrats were indicting Donald Trump, 60 times or whatever here in multiple jurisdictions over the last year and a half, it was always held up, the Joe Biden, Hunter Biden example. It's like, here's a man who does the right thing.
Integrity.
Loving father.
Right. He would never.
Statesman.
He would never abuse his office to commute or nay, pardon his son, because no one is above the law.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody, especially when we're running to preserve democracy.
I think, to me, this was such a great example so soon after the election of exactly why so many American people voted for Republicans, voted for Donald Trump, because the Democrat Party is now empty. They believe in nothing.
Right.
Americans were sick of them for so long preaching, here's pronouns you're allowed to say. You're not allowed to say that. They would police what Americans are able to say, are able to think. And then when it comes to them, it's like, oh, no, rules for thee, not for me.
There's no rules.
Americans were done with it.
Yeah, no, unquestionably. I've got a lot to say about this particular, as do all of us. We're going to do this in terms of just a general reaction. Why now? Mm-hmm. Why would you do this on this Sunday of Thanksgiving? And I
have so much to say about that.
And then, of course, the media reactions, which you're going to love. You're going to love every minute of it. We're going to get to it right after this. I don't have to tell you Americans are ready for what's next. Moving beyond the hardships of inflation and economic anxiety towards building a future, a better future for our families. Ensuring greater access to more affordable energy that powers daily lives, reliable energy that fuels innovation and economic growth, and the abundant energy that keeps our nation safer and more secure. It's all within our grasp. We'll do this together, building a brighter future for us, powered by America's oil and natural gas resources. You can learn more about all of this at api.org. Listen, the Hunter Biden pardon, in and of itself, to me is completely hilarious in that you've got a president who ran as being sort of a law and order, preserving democracy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Upholding our institutions.
Return to normalcy.
And he insisted through himself, through spokespeople, you would never, ever do it. We need to check out some of these clips just so you get a full context of all of this, and then we'll get right into it. Can we play clip 1, please, Spaghetts?
But from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well, is there?
I just said no. I just answered. So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear, and I said no. I've been very clear. The president's not going to pardon his son. We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
Wow.
Okay. Let's just take the no thing for starters before we get into the second clip. So whatever you think about the George W. Bush administration, I recall, because that's kind of my nascent experience into politics, there was a press secretary named Scott McClellan who was behind the podium and gave an answer about the Iraq War. I forget exactly if it was about like the intel that led to it or whatever it was. There was an out-and-out lie, and they knew it was a lie. Like, it became a lie. And the press made a very substantial case, one of which I tend to agree with, which is it's one thing when you're defending your point of view and providing a spin for it. It's quite another when you just bald face, straight to the camera, an absolute lie from a spokesperson behind a podium. Because if you're doing that, there's no purpose of doing a press conference at all. It's all a show. Once you are a liar, you're always a liar. Now, I will make my arguments about this administration in a moment. But from a spokesperson standpoint, if I'm Karine Jean-Pierre, and listen, this lady does not have a ton of integrity.
No.
Coming into this, doing all of the lying that she's already been culpable of.
You don't say.
But this particular thing, having those clips, I'd resign on the spot. Resign on the spot.
Yeah.
Out of principle.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to tell me something is never going to happen, and I represent that something is never going to happen with my own credibility, only to do that if I'm not taking myself immediately out of it. Like if she doesn't resign, this is the absolute most lack of integrity of anybody I've ever met in politics.
Well, it's a lack of integrity, Holmes, and it's also like a really disrespectful thing for a principal to do to a subordinate, right? To put her in that position.
But it's only disrespectful if that person has integrity in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? If you think that you're putting somebody in a position who cares anything about what the American people learn as their truth from this administration, then that's disrespectful. Clearly, that's not the case.
But let's take
She's
it,
still there.
Let's take it a step further. There's the principal, there's the subordinate, and then there's the press who chew up everything that Karine Jean-Pierre tells them, and they say, no, this has been settled. Joe Biden and his spokesperson say that he will not pardon Hunter Biden. End of story.
Yeah, can we play that clip?
Yeah,
Let's
so
go to
this is
that.
credit of Grabian, who pulled all this down. Clip 2, if you might.
Was asked directly, and he has said he wouldn't pardon his son if he gets convicted.
Let's wait and see what happens if he loses.
Yeah, but I mean, but he said it.
He's going to get pardoned by his dad. There's no question about that.
The president has ruled out pardoning his son.
The challenge for him is really to continue to live up to his values when it was really personal, and he did that today.
It seems like a pretty normal, straightforward answer, but it takes new weight when we see what Trump is saying.
Our current president of the United States has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son.
The latest attack has been that Joe Biden has politicized and weaponized the DOJ, right? That was the whole argument around Donald Trump's conviction. And this week, of course, Hunter Biden was found guilty, and Joe Biden has very clearly said he would not pardon his son, he would not commute his sentence.
He is not pardoning his son, which he could do. These are federal charges. He is not doing that. He is not doing it because he is living what it means to have a rule of law.
Oh, yeah, it's the living rule of law.
They make our job so easy.
They do.
Dude, I mean, I can't believe that guy pulled a pocket protector out in order to do that interview. What an amazing deal.
You know, to me, what's really also interesting and showing the level of hypocrisy and how this administration, this party, this president has no integrity is by pardoning his son after years of saying, oh, the Department of Justice is not weaponized, it's not politicized, there's no lawfare in this country. He's undoing all of that, being like, well, I guess the Department of Justice was politicized, can be politicized, or they don't have, you know, law is not absolute in this country. I have to step in and protect my son. It shows he doesn't believe in any of these institutions.
Right.
He's not like a return to norms guy. This is strictly personal, and it's not a family thing either. He refuses to acknowledge one of his grandchildren. This is a saving his own ass and his business partner, because Hunter, among many things, being a crackhead, a horrible human being,
philanderer.
I mean, you name it. He's done every terrible thing possible. On top of all of those things, he's also Joe Biden's business partner. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't know if I was going to get into it right away, but I'm going to get into it. I'm going to get into it. So look, I mean, the first clip, the lie. I'm not enthused by the lie, in large part because I've sat next to you for 4 years and done this, and you've said that hypocrisy is not a great argument against Democrats because they don't give a shit.
None.
They don't. And, you know, when you run as a caretaker and someone who is capable of restoring norms, calming things down, somebody's going to be there 4 years just to try to chill out the country a little bit. And then in your first quarter of being a president, you try to implement the New Deal 2.0. And you lie, bald-faced to the American people about what it is that you intend to do here. You try to do Green New Deal. You try to do everything you can do on a partisan basis. You endorse, like, eliminating filibusters. You endorse trying to add D.C. and Puerto Rico as states. You get to the line where their administration actually endorsed packing the courts.
Yeah.
when you do all of that stuff, you're already a liar. And I think the American people were way ahead of all of this in terms of determining that Joe Biden is, in fact, a fucking liar.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the lie doesn't bother me. What bothers me, and this is like, look, I still hold, unlike you, Smug, I still hold a little bit of reverence for American institutions of government, in large part because I love the Constitution. I think forefathers had it right, and we really executed well, certainly in comparison to everybody else across the world, on how we're supposed to run a country. So I still have a little bit of reverence for this idea that every once in a while, even fallible people can see a moment where things have gotten off the tracks and they can rein it back in. Is it self-serving in some ways? Sure. But when it gets to a point where there's your own skin in the game, you can really speak to it in a way that makes a lot of sense. So here we're talking about Hunter Biden. Talking about his son. I don't have any question that he loves his son, obviously. The fact that he's had to carry that luggage as long as he has in this administration, clearly he loves his son. I'm not disputing that. Is he his business partner? Sure. I think there's probably a monetary component involved with that too, although, well, who knows? But the idea that you can issue a statement like he did on Sunday night,
Yeah.
saying that it was a very unique set of circumstances that led to his prosecution, that had everything to do with the fact that there were politics involved, and he would never have been prosecuted, or at least not convicted, under the all the pieces of it that he was, if he wasn't the president of the United States, without acknowledging that Donald Trump has gone through 47 different indictments for precisely the same reason, without all of, and I would say all, because look, January 6th was horrible, but there's a whole bunch of people who were prosecuted, which the Supreme Court ruled on unfair bases, given sentences that were much longer than would typically be done because of the fact that they were Donald Trump supporters. Steve Bannon, I mean, I don't remember any of the Intel people going to jail.
Yeah.
Right.
For any of the testimony before Congress that was proven to be
Yeah, why isn't Eric
false.
Holder in prison?
I don't remember any of that stuff. Like, all of these things happened, and they happened under his watch.
You know the answer to these things, and it's very unsettling. But the reality is that the Democrat protection racket does not stop with the mainstream media. It spreads into the entire bureaucracy. And that's why it's so important for Trump to actually take out as much as he possibly can and replace them with people who care about the voters, who are interested in doing what the voters want them to do. These bureaucrats think they're in charge. They think that they run the country, not the elected leaders who the voters decide on. So I think the answer to your question is that there are way too many Democrats running our country in positions of power that are not elected positions. And I think until President Trump clear cuts that bureaucracy, we're going to continue to have the same problem.
I'm not going to disagree with that. And Duncan, I'm going to go to you, but I'm getting at a slightly different point, which is every once in a while a leader in this country has an opportunity to disarm a potentially combustible problem that threatens our union writ large. And you've seen generation after generation of American leaders do just that, even when it's not in their best interest. It's one of the reasons why we're the greatest country in the world, where people do selfless acts, even when it doesn't benefit them. This one would have benefited them. But if he would have either granted pardons on the other side, or he would have at least spoken to the dangers of weaponizing justice, and that he too, his administration too, could be culpable of such an act, it does something to lower the temperature in this country. right? Where, like, I understand how Smug comes at this. I get it. I've sat next to him. I've listened to his arguments. I can't disagree with a lot of them. I disagree with pieces of it because I just want it to keep working.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want this right prosecutes the left, left prosecutes the right, interminable deal. But when you look at somebody who's situated here, nobody can disagree with the fact that this man wants to protect his kid, right? You can disagree why he wants to protect his kid. But you can't disagree with the fact that any dad would want to protect their child. But not to use that moment as an opportunity to talk to the American people about the dangers of weaponizing the justice system for partisan purposes is a fucking unforgivable offense in my view. This is what makes this guy amongst the worst presidents in the history of American Republic. I can't even fathom the idea. Do you look out about what's happening, what just happened to his party in these elections, and not come to the conclusion that we've got a real problem here and we need some real healing?
And that's the thing is I came to the same conclusion as you, and I think you absolutely nailed the heart of this issue. To me, it speaks so much to his selfishness.
Yes.
To the selfishness of that whole crew that you are right. There was an opportunity. I mean, you would think they would begin through their thick skulls to get somewhat of a message of what happened on Election Day and how mad Americans are seeing this. Like you'd mentioned, Democrats don't care if you point out hypocrisy. They don't believe hypocrisy. They see hierarchy.
Yeah.
They see, oh, we get to do whatever we want. It's the little people who have to worry about this kind of stuff.
It just solidifies it.
Totally. That's what it does.
I think at the end of the day, I don't think Democrats believe in institutions. I don't think they believe in any of these principles. I think they believe in all of them, at least pretend to, as long as they're working for them.
That's all they
and not
believe
for
in.
us.
That's all they believe in.
That's the reality. Back to your point, Holmes, on like, why didn't he use this moment to defuse the bomb? To be like, yes, prosecutions in this country are getting too political, and this is a problem within our entire law enforcement apparatus, and it hurt Donald Trump and it hurt my son, and for that reason X, Y, Z. But he won't do that. He's selfish, obviously, but it's like, it's the same. Dude, they used to like the Supreme Court. Democrats used to love the Supreme Court. Now they want to pack the court because it's not working for them. They don't actually believe in anything.
And right after Election Day, they asked Democrat senators, do you still want to pack the court? And they said, well, no, not now.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they are so blatant.
Do you want to eliminate the filibuster? Because remember, it was Jim Crow. It was racist. The filibuster was created by slave owners. Now suddenly they're the biggest champions of it. Why is that?
Oh, weird.
Why is
weird?
that?
Because it benefits my political.
And that's the thing is, like, all this American people got so tired of being called racist for not going along with whatever crazy shit the Democrats want.
Dude, they believed in free speech when it was Twitter. And then the second Elon Musk bought it, they went to cry in the fucking corner to Blue Sky.
Yeah.
None of these people believe in a single thing. They believe my body, my choice. And then they're like, no, you have to take this vaccine or you're going to lose your job. You're going to get kicked out of the military. I swear to God, these people believe in nothing.
Nothing.
Right.
They're nihilists.
And back to the subject at hand, these people believed in someone who said, I will not pardon my son. I will not pardon my son. Yes, I will pardon my son.
Mm-hmm.
They only believe in power. And what they did under the Obama administration that nobody wrote about, because the Washington Post is bought and paid for by Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wrote about is that they filled all of these civil appointments in the Department of Justice and the EPA and everywhere in the government with Democrats who are partisan as the day is long. And they don't work for you. They work for their party. They work for their ideology.
Yes.
They work for their billion-dollar donors.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I get at this point that one of the things that's so important that Trump can do, everybody talks about the deep state and, and it's this and it's that. What it is too many Democrats working for the government and nobody's allowed to vote them out.
Yeah.
The administrative state.
You vote, it's the administrative state. You vote for a president, you think that person comes in and sets the tone, and the Democrats are like, we're still in charge. We know we're going to get to this later in the show.
Right.
But it's a problem.
No, it's a good point. It's a good point because it does feed all of this. but like just in terms of the justice system, we've gone off the rails.
We have.
We've gone off the. If the American people actually don't have faith in the administration of justice
right.
in this country,
problem.
I don't understand what else you're concerned about.
And here's the thing is, it has been so viciously undermined, and the undermining of the justice system has been mainstreamed. We saw a perfect example of this in 2020 when, listen, rioting is now okay according to doctors. They're saying you can burn your city down. You don't get COVID if you burn your city down.
Happened.
In a church, you'll get COVID.
Yeah.
If you're burning down buildings, no COVID. That's fine. So and then you have major corporations who backed this and paid protection money to these groups.
I mean, that's the most important thing I think Smug is illuminating here, is it really didn't, like, things didn't get off the rails just when Donald Trump was indicted for things. Like, this seed was planted a long time ago on the left, where they have undermined, like, the sense of reality that Americans live in every single day.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that they smelled right out all that bullshit.
And you know, something that we had Vivek Ramaswamy on the show a couple of months ago, and he was getting at the point that Josh is making right now, which is like, do you want to trade a bunch of leftist lunatics who are ideological in these positions of power in our government for people who are on the other side and are ideological? No. You want people who are doing their jobs the way they're supposed to do them. You don't want to trade one dictator for the next. And I really think that his vision on this is so smart.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I got news for the fucking dorks out there on the left and right. The vast majority of people want to be left alone.
Yeah.
They want to be left alone. They want to make sure that their streets are paved, that their schools operate, that they can operate in safety in their communities, that the global issues that affect them don't affect their pocketbooks and don't affect their security. And that's why you have a federal government. That's the little convenient compact that we came into when we started a republic. That's it. And it remains true today. I'm not interested in, like, servicing one side or another every 4 years and flipping back and forth like insane in people and then prosecuting our enemies. This guy had an opportunity to speak to that, and he chose not to.
And that's why I actually maintain my position. Given this opportunity,
I get you,
this
dude.
prime opportunity,
I get it.
The only thing Democrats understand is mutually assured destruction. You have to do what they've been doing to us to the point that they cry uncle and knock that shit off. Because for so long we've tried giving them the whole, well, here's what the Federalist Papers said about this, and we've tried being like, okay, we will debate you on your position. And all that's happened is they've been throwing our people in jails. They've turned this government, which, like you said, the framers of the Constitution were geniuses, and it's worked better here than anywhere else because we did believe in it and we lived in what we believed in. But they've turned this government, like Ashbrook's saying, into their, like, personal piggy bank.
Right.
Filled it up with their people who answer to left-wing donors, not to taxpayers when they're working at a government agency. You got to make the left cry uncle.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I don't disagree. And if you've got me to the point,
yeah, good luck. Great move, Biden.
Good fucking luck.
You thought Trump was unchained before.
Good luck. So here's how the media reacts. Graphic 1, please, Spaghetti. Republicans pounce.
Oh, boy.
On Biden pardoning his son, Hunter.
Like clockwork.
So can we do a dissection of the pounce thing? They do it because it's like a cliquey thing, right?
Yeah.
Like they know that we're going to just lose our minds.
I think they
now they do it that way.
So
because nobody could actually be like, I know what we.
I think they truly lack self-awareness to that. I truly believe. So
you think it's just a self-awareness thing?
I thought it might be a cliquey thing, and so what I've been doing a lot lately, I say it on the show, name and shame, right? I'll find out who wrote that article, and then right below the tweet, I say this was written by and an at, so people can instantly start holding them accountable.
But it's really there.
They really are that lacking of self-awareness and that much of partisans.
So Steve Guest, great friend of the program, put this tweet up on X.
So good.
Last night, and he
in 3 parts.
In 3 parts, and the first one was the Politico tweet that said, "President says he won't pardon Hunter Biden."
Second tweet, stated as a fact.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it is a fact. The president said it. Obviously, he's not going to pardon him.
That's a fact.
Well, it's over. And then the next one is Biden issues pardon for son Hunter, and then the third one is the Republicans pounce. And it's like that is the sleight of hand that the media does. It's like him being a fucking hypocrite and a liar, who's degrading justice in this country isn't the story. The story is how we react to it.
Yep.
How we react. So, and this one's even better in my view. Graphic 2, this is from Axios. House Republicans rage at Biden's pardon of Hunter. How are House Republicans the story?
Yeah, it's like
that was Andrew Solender, who Ashbrook, he's a buddy of yours. Andrew Solender at Axios wrote that.
I gotta be honest, like that was not my reaction to it. I was having a ball. I don't know if you guys had fun.
Oh, I had a
just
laugh
going up,
my ass
just
off.
digging up everybody's old tweets that are all wrong. I went over to Blue Sky. I saw how they were spinning the thing, which is hilarious. It's like walking into an insane asylum.
But here's the thing: like you sort of assume that they write for their Dem audience.
Yeah.
But not even Democrats were wondering how House Republicans reacted.
Nobody
to
was
the
wondering
Hunter Biden.
No, the only people who were mad at Joe Biden were never Trump Republicans. It's like Democrats were like, good, he should do that. And also this is Trump's fault. And the never Trump Republicans were like, I believed in you, Joe. I thought you were a man of principle.
So to me,
Where's
that was
the West Wing when we need it?
To me, that was the most awesome part of all of this. It's
Yeah.
like, yes, we were all having a dunkathon on Twitter. We were going in and pulling up all the old tweets where Democrats were like, look, Joe will never do it. The Never Trump crew got it so bad.
Dying.
And they were having like this like crisis of confidence. But the best part is then the morning arrives and the Bulwark puts out the case for pardoning Hunter Biden.
Of course.
Wait,
They
what
got on
morning?
the same
Is
page.
that this the Monday
morning
morning?
after. Yeah, the Monday
Are you
morning.
kidding me?
That's the thing is because they know they don't have a constituency.
No, they don't have a constituency.
And even the Democrats know they're fucking worthless.
Just useful idiots.
They're like, we gave so much to Lincoln Project and we let all these idiots have unlimited time on CNN and MSNBC and we got smoked. The Democrats know there is no use for them. So the only game that they have, these Never Trump Republicans, is like, maybe if we try groveling and just agreeing with them, they won't kick us out and they'll keep the money rolling.
I don't think I've ever met anyone as out of touch with reality than these people.
Yeah.
They really are.
It's like, I mean, it really is like finding one of those sub-Saharan tribes that have never, ever had contact with the outside world. And you just kind of drop in and they're like throwing spears or whatever. And they're
that
like,
is them. There's 10 of them in Northern Virginia. They're like in McLean.
Yeah.
They all hang out, and they're the only tribe that buys into this shit.
Do you know how good King of the Hill is going to be on
Oh,
Thursday?
it's going to be so good.
All-timer.
Can't wait. All right, so this is from Ken Vogel, who's done some really good reporting in the past on the Hunter Biden situation, a whole bunch of stuff. Is he still with the New York Times?
Yes, and he always gets ratioed for it.
I only say is he still with because he writes a lot of factual issues, and that becomes troublesome when you work for a place that is dedicated to not.
That's the, he's like
doing
uncovered
that.
all this stuff that like the Biden administration has done wrong, left-wing dark money groups, and he always gets ratioed on Twitter. All these libs are all up and like, stop doing that. Trump's going to win.
Yeah, no, totally. All right, so here's what he says. The date range listed on Hunter Biden's pardon is also a tell that it intended to preclude Trump's DOJ from bringing a FARA charge. So FARA, for those of you who are unaware of the federal law, it's about when you register to represent a foreign country in the United States when you're lobbying for them, right? So obviously we have laws that when an American citizen is representing a non-American state actor, you have to register and say, this is what I'm doing for obvious reasons. But they were concerned about that, apparently, enough to make this retroactive to 2014. It grants immunity for crimes Hunter Biden, quote, may have committed, unquote, starting January 1, 2014. He joined the board of Burisma a few months later.
Oh.
And you know, the biggest kick out of this, specifically that, you know, they made it those dates, is President Trump was impeached for trying to find the truth about this. They impeached him for trying to figure out if there was any wrongdoing. And they're like, oh, listen, just for safety reasons, we're going to issue a pardon for all this stuff.
I mean, it was the thinnest gruel of impeachments, the first impeachment of Donald Trump. It was completely ridiculous, and you're entirely right in that they were the essence of the charge was that he was withholding American aid that had been approved by Congress in order to get some kind of a commitment by Zelensky and his government to investigate something that had happened in Ukraine based on an investigation of Burisma.
Yeah, Joe Biden bragged about firing the prosecutor that was investigating Burisma in Ukraine. I mean, like that is the grand irony of this whole thing is they spent 4 years of Donald Trump's first term calling everyone who worked for him a foreign agent, a Russian plant, all of this sort of stuff. And then Joe Biden, in pardoning his son, retroactively sets it to 2014 so that he can skip out on a FARA charge.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you couldn't write it into a movie. It would be too unbelievable.
But he issued the pardon at like 6 o'clock on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And it went through midnight on Sunday night. So technically, Hunter Biden could have gone on a killing spree
Did you guys
in
see
Washington,
Did
D.C.
you guys see the X thing about Elmo?
Yeah.
I didn't see
Elmo thing of like
Elmo snorting cocaine
and like putting guns to heads and stuff.
Like,
yeah, I mean,
yeah, it was very funny.
It was very funny. But I mean, look, this guy has been a meddlesome, troublesome individual. And again, I actually, this is the piece of it that I don't know if I agree. Look, I think if the Burisma stuff is true and the China stuff is true, it's far more significant than him being a drug addict and him.
Yep, of course.
Like the crimes he was convicted of were like a gun crime.
That was all a smokescreen.
And a tax evasion crime, both of which, on its face, yeah. I mean, I think Joe Biden may have a point about whether or not that would have been elevated to the level that it was because they weren't typically very important things. The problem is that those were held out as holding the Bidens accountable in lieu of this much larger, much more serious allegation about him basically selling access to the vice president's office while he was a vice president for Obama.
Right, and it makes Democrats crying partisanship so much more offensive because this was a part of Biden's calculus when he was deciding whether to run in 2020. Yeah. Man, Hunter has a lot of shady business dealings overseas. Is that going to come back to bite?
Yeah, nobody worried about his gun purchases.
Right.
Everybody on the Democrat side was worried about that. And now it's like, oh, no, that's just partisanship.
Well, and it's just really ballsy for Biden to call out the partisanship, in the Justice Department.
I felt like I hit my head.
Prosecuting his son on the gun charges and everything, and then make the pardon retroactive to the Burisma deal.
It's why I'm so pissed off.
It's just so... It's so incredibly craven and selfish, back to Smug's point.
And can I say something specifically about this topic of, it made me sick to my stomach reading that statement and Joe Biden being like, my son was singled out for this. Your son's been singled out his entire life.
Yeah.
He's been singled out by you protecting him from consequences his entire life. That's how you get to this point where you've got a guy now making millions of dollars with overseas government selling access to you. We're talking, this would have been a very serious federal corruption issue. And he's gotten away with it because Joe Biden enabled him to be able to get away with all this, protecting
Dude, he gets
him from
away with
consequences.
everything. He's been banging his dead brother's wife.
Yeah.
Right.
Like seriously, like imagine Thanksgiving in that house. You'd have to give him a pardon. You would have to give him a pardon.
We need a pardon from the table from the beginning.
Right. Like to the question.
Yeah.
To the question of like, why now? Why not wait to the 11th hour of your presidency, right before you give the reins back to Donald Trump? You issue this thing and then hopefully it's swept under the rug. Nobody's going to talk about it. New administration. Do you think Joe Biden wants to go through another holiday, celebrate Christmas with Joe Biden breathing down his neck, being like, Dad, just give me one more. Just one more pass. One more free pass.
But he had to get it. I mean, that Thanksgiving table, they decided some things.
Yeah.
But the media
Think Jill's signature's on that one?
The media writes it up like it's a loving father and a troubled kid. The guy's in his 50s. And the media acts like, he's just having a hard time. He's going through a lot. Meanwhile, they attack Barron Trump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're freewheeling on Barron Trump, and they're just letting Hunter Biden have the pass. It's another example of how biased our media really is.
I want to get to just two quick things and then in the segment. Politico unbelievably, wrote, "We haven't seen a pardon as sweeping as Hunter Biden's in generations." One quote that stood out to me, even the broadest Trump pardons were specific to what was being pardoned. This was not. It put a broad date range for any crimes that may have been committed 10 years ago. 10 years ago.
Right.
I mean, that's a... Boy, you want to talk about like you pass go and collect $200.
It's a hell of a Christmas present.
I mean, wow, what a deal, huh? So Joe Biden's full and unconditional pardon of his son is deliberately vague. Donald Trump and his allies have long... This is as Politico writes it. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Donald Trump and his allies have long fixated on the president's son.
Oh, my God.
And Trump has repeatedly pledged to use his second term to investigate and prosecute members of the Biden family.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, so
it's Trump's fault. Biden has
He had to do it.
But also, did I have a fever dream where I saw Donald Trump saying he would consider a pardon for Hunter Biden?
He said that.
He said that. What the hell are they talking about? It's Trump's fault? Like, he's the only one here that's like been a victim personally of political prosecutions, understands it uniquely, and his first reaction when someone asked was, yeah, I'd consider a pardon.
I mean, this guy's been prosecuted. He's been attempted assassinated multiple times. He's seen a lot of shit.
Yeah.
A lot of shit.
If I'm him, I like preemptively pardon Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and just
throw it out there.
You know, just like any potential crimes they may have done here
Just
over the
throw
last
it out there.
decade.
No, so I'm the opposite tack. I hope
I know
as
you are.
soon as Trump finishes his inauguration speech, he says, okay, Cash Patel gets up and just handcuffs every Biden and Clinton on that stage. Every one of them.
We'll talk more about Cash in the upcoming weeks. I know that's a nomination. Cash Patel as FBI director that has gotten a lot of people. He's been on the program. We've talked to him. He's a very smart guy. We'll talk more about all of that and the nominations in days ahead. I'm glad you raised it because it is what it is. But we do have a question of the day.
Yeah, it's a good
we
one,
do have
too.
a question of the day. Why did Joe Biden pardon Hunter now? Why wouldn't he wait till the waning days, as is typically customary, for a president to do it? Now, the obvious is what we covered. He's being sentenced 12 days from now, right? So
Yeah, but he wouldn't be going into the brig in 12 days, right? Like, my theory is Thanksgiving was just rough.
I think that might be right.
You know?
I think that might. I mean, look, I'm interested to hear from you all. You may have some insight into that because it is a unique time. Like, Thanksgiving is not a time where you just drop bombshell pardons from an outgoing administration. So
unless you're the Biden crime family, then it's like, okay, that's what we do on Thanksgiving.
yeah, you tell us. You tell us. So coming up is outgoing Attorney General planning for a deep state 2.0, plus your comments from last week, and we'll get to all of it right after this.
All right, so I just got to point out that my friends at Americans for Prosperity made a huge difference this year. AFP volunteers made millions of voter contacts, which is absolutely mind-blowing. They are the largest, most effective ground game operation in the country to defend and advance the conservative movement. But now that the election is behind us, the hard work of turning electoral victory into policy wins begins. And the grassroots army with Americans for Prosperity will again be in the thick of it. We have an incredible opportunity next year to get the country back on track, but it means we're all going to have to roll up our sleeves and get to work. If you're ready to join a winning team making a difference across the country, check out my friends at AFP, and you can learn more at americansforprosperity.org.
All right, so where we left you last week was just a simple question, which is, are you subtle or are you overt in your battle against family libs at family gatherings like Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
We've given you some suggestions. But really the gold is in these comments.
It's incredible. I was reading them before we started. These are great.
They're
They're
so
incredible.
good. You got to like and subscribe. Like and subscribe, like and subscribe. That's how you get your comments read here on this particular variety program. It's also how your friends can see the show, so you got to get involved in that. But we always start with a voice.
Thank you, friend. This first one comes from Jeffrey969. And Jeffrey writes, I'm going to my son's for Thanksgiving dinner this Saturday. His mother-in-law requested there be no talk of politics, and she's going to be the only liberal there. So I changed my ringtone on my phone to Lee Greenwood.
Hell yeah.
God bless the USA, and I changed my text tone to YMCA.
Oh my God.
Then I've arranged for friends to call and text me at certain points of the evening.
Now that's how you do it.
Jeffrey has it right.
That's how you do it.
That is so great. Every time the text tone went off, I would have stood up and did the little dance.
I think this is so smart.
It's smart.
It's so great. I also just have to pay homage to the power of Donald Trump in transforming YMCA from a gay anthem to like just a like dude's deal. Like that. I mean, you got to be pretty talented to do.
Well,
something
in fairness, it was always about dudes.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. What do we have, Duncan?
This is comment 2 from Bobby Warren. I appreciate our production team giving us a comment here from a Patriots fan. My Indianapolis Colts defeated them last weekend.
By a punto.
Yes, we had the balls to go for 2 at the end of the game on the road. You know, not every team's cut out for that. But today was an away game. I wore my New England Patriots jacket, shirt, and hat to send the message that the Patriots had arrived to celebrate America. Nice. When a family member talked about a potential third marriage, I said, that is good. One marriage for every Trump term.
Yes, yes. We need a third term.
He will have 2 terms and he just needs one more.
He does.
Just really. So what I love of this is like the theme in both of these is just rattling their cages.
Oh, that's what it is.
You know, just rattling their cages.
I think as we just referred to it on Thursday, it was whatever provokes the maximum response, and only you know,
right,
in your
it's
own
personalized.
family. Like what is it that like your blood pressure? It goes to like 400.
It's just psychological warfare.
It is. That's what we were doing here. All right, Smug, what do we got?
This comment comes from Lisa Marie, terrific friend of the program. Lisa Marie writes, I'll be subtle, not even saying his name, just implying things are changing soon and letting the dread of his name linger. That's hilarious. Def dropping the names of converts to Team Trump, such as Rogan, Musk, RFK, and Tulsi. My brother likes to gloat when he wins, so he expects the same. He'll hear what I'm not saying loud and clear. That's an interesting approach.
Right.
Letting the dread linger.
Again, psychological.
100%.
Understands the family. Sometimes what's left unsaid is the real dagger.
Yeah.
We have the smartest listeners on our show.
Really
I mean,
do.
just absolute brilliant people. And we actually got a bottle of Jack Daniels from a guy named Eric Liu. I showed it to you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this guy, Eric Liu, is one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And if guys like him are listening to the show, you know we're onto something.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you, Eric.
Very special.
Thank you, Eric. Really appreciate that. All right, so the little deep state thing, we'll get through this. So amid worry about Trump, calls for career Justice Department staff to stay, is according to the Washington Post. All right? So this is not going to surprise you at all. This is what they've done, although now they need to make it vocal. This used to just happen. It didn't happen in public airwaves. Like this was just like understood by the left. But now they're having to advocate for it, which I think in and of itself is progress. Attorney General Merrick Garland and top Justice Department officials are encouraging career staffers to remain in their jobs through the next administration, stressing that an institutional knowledge is important as the new leaders take hold, according to people familiar with these conversations. The weeks since President-elect Donald Trump's victory have been filled with uncertainty and tumult. For many of the more than 100,000 individuals who work for the nation's largest law enforcement agency. According to people familiar with the situation, many of whom spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss information that has not been made public. Trump's initial announcement that he would nominate the Attorney General, former Congressman Matt Gaetz, an outspoken loyalist with limited legal experience, was met with angst and shock throughout the department. The people familiar with the internal conversation. These are just people familiar with it. You know, I mean, you can work. You just got to be familiar with stuff.
Right. Just your typical staffer having phone calls with the Washington Post. attacking the incoming administration. That's what normal people do when they're on a job.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I know anything. I'm just familiar with the conversations.
I just think like I think like this idea of institutional knowledge is a failed experiment.
Yeah.
Like I get in a perfect world, yeah, institutional knowledge would be a good thing. Some people have been in a place where you come into work and they can tell you where the paper clips are, or, you know, all that sort of stuff. No, but like what's the value of institutional knowledge at a CDC that says put masks on 2-year-olds? Like what's the institutional knowledge value of a Department of Defense where no one gets fired after that withdrawal from Afghanistan?
Maybe rethink
I mean,
it.
fuck all of these places. I don't give a shit about their institutional knowledge. It's time to gut them and get some people in there that want to shake things
that's
up.
my point.
I mean, like everything has been a failure this last 4 years, and no one has been held accountable.
That's right.
If people were held accountable and people went before Congress and said, you know what, we did fuck up, that was wrong, then I would believe that institutional knowledge was a valuable thing that people learn from their experience. Right. But I have no evidence of anyone learning anything in this bureaucracy.
Yes, that's exactly right. They equate institutional knowledge with an understanding of the priorities of George Soros.
Yeah.
That's what they think institutional knowledge actually is.
That's right.
Well, you just become, and they become just an antiquated, like not even a resemblance of the mission of the job.
None.
Like they just, it is what they did before, and they'll do again, and it has nothing to do with the priorities of a new administration, particularly for a Department of Justice. Like, look, I understand wanting to have, if you have to hire 100,000 people, which seems a little steep to me.
Well, it takes a lot of people to investigate those moms showing up to school board meetings. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But
lot
I
of
think
manpower.
that's a good point, right? If you have to hire 100,000 people, smart lawyers, like some of the smartest people who are willing to do the public service, because I'm sure they can all get paid more on the public sector by doing something else. You got to really look to, I mean, that's you got to fill that out in some ways. So it's always been a career-driven thing where you have some people who just know, like, I'm a cybercrime guy, and I just do cybercrime.
I get it.
And you're like, that's great. But your point, Duncan, is a great one, which is if you fucked it up for 4 long years, what is the institutional knowledge that I'm relying upon here?
Right.
And we saw a perfect example of this as soon as the Hunter Biden pardon dropped, where Eric Holder goes on X and he says, this is a very good pardon.
Oh, yeah.
Hunter did nothing wrong. It's like, this guy was the attorney general.
No, that guy's the worst. That
Attorney
guy's
General.
the worst. I don't care who, like Bondi, she's going to get confirmed with flying colors. Everybody's going to support her. But, like, I don't care who you put up. Better than that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Better than that guy. I mean, he was the absolute worst. So then on Saturday night, according to the Post, Trump announced that he wanted to replace FBI Director Christopher Wray with Kash Patel, a Trump loyalist who has dismissed the Bureau's investigations around Trump as political and vowed to dismantle the FBI. Many career employees who worked for justice during the first Trump administration and are waiting to see who is appointed head of different divisions before deciding how to proceed.
Interesting that the Washington Post described Kash Patel as a Trump loyalist.
Yep.
And obviously he supports President Trump, but he was also a decorated member of Barack Obama's administration. He received an award for investigating and prosecuting terrorists when Barack Obama was president of the United States.
Yeah, I do think it's really, his whole thing is interesting to me. And part of it is not, part of the reason for the outrage around him is nothing to do with him. If you look at his
resume is nuts.
Resume, it's insane.
Yeah.
And it's success at every level. But he was one of the very few that questioned the legitimacy of the Russiagate stuff and started to provide some lead on the target as to these guys not being who we thought that they were. And all of a sudden, like, he became persona non grata in that world that they're not talking about.
Well, because he investigated the investigators, and you're not allowed to do that. And that is the culture of silence that has been in our entire institution for too long.
Yeah.
And that's like that is the root of the problem. And that's why somebody like Kash is so important.
And further, it paints a target on his back when he's revealing how all this Russia nonsense is made up, because every journo at that time was putting out a book about how, oh, Russia's taking over America.
Right.
He was standing right in the way of their gravy train by being like, oh, this is bullshit.
And none of those people had to return their Pulitzer Prizes.
That's right.
You know, they all got book deals. They all got on television.
got rich.
None of them got on the air and said, you know what? We're sorry. We were wrong. We were hoodwinked by these people with institutional knowledge.
Yeah.
Institutional knowledge.
Clapper
Go fuck
and
yourself.
all of them signing on that letter, being like,
exactly.
oh, Hunter's laptop's fake.
Yeah.
So I heard a conspiracy theory that's worth sharing, because it's from somebody who would know that part of the reason that Trump ultimately nominated Matt Gaetz, who had a very, very minimal, if any, window to be ultimately confirmed by the United States Senate, and ultimately withdrew his nomination, was this exact thing. That what they were seeking was for these people that Merrick Garland is trying to encourage to stick in there and hold down the line.
Wow.
For them to be so outraged that they would just simply submit a resignation. Now, I don't know if any of that's true, but it makes a lot of sense if it is.
It'd be awesome.
It's the best, I mean, everybody's talked about like the 4D chess of, you could put him up there. Everybody gravitates all the concern to him and lets his other nominees sort of skate, or, whoever he puts up after that is going to seem great and they're going to be confirmed. Like, that's all. Having been around Trump for a long time, I just don't think that that's ultimately what he would ever decide. But this piece of it actually makes some sense to me.
That is pretty interesting.
Because he has a commitment to the deep state situation. He knows very well what that Justice Department filled with these career types did to his first 4 years.
Yeah.
If simply by nominating somebody who scared the shit out of everybody claimed some resignations, even if it claimed 2, worth it.
Definitely worth it.
Totally.
Worth
that
it.
is interesting.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I mean, some of these clowns made their whole career on refusing to resign the first time Trump won. Remember that Preet Bharara guy?
Yeah, oh
who's
God,
like,
yeah.
serves at the pleasure of the president. Oh, Donald Trump gets elected. I refuse to resign.
Yeah.
Here's
He's
your
gonna have to fire
MSNBC
me.
contract. You know, like these people are such clowns.
Yeah. No, I know. Well, it's interesting. I mean, the whole story is interesting, but this is something we're going to have to watch, because the deep state, how they respond, and I'm talking about the careers at all these various departments, how they respond to all of this is fascinating, because there are the Brennan acolytes in the intel agencies. If they were to go for fear of a Tulsi, or for fear of a, however many nominees we get down that stretch, Ratcliffe or whomever, great news. But I just wonder whether or not they're ultimately just going to have to gut internally. And if that's the case, like, if these people aren't going to leave by the nominees, like, much of this first quarter that we're going to deal with in 2025 is going to be nothing but New York Times and Washington Post stories about, like, very concerned justice officials, very concerned intelligence professionals.
It's just unbelievable.
Very concerned. I mean, that's what we're going to do.
Course.
Well,
of course.
if the people who are paid by taxpayers, the voters who chose Donald Trump, if those people are working against the vision set out by these voters, and Trump is stymied in his first 100 days, his first 6 months, first year, there is no better argument for a third term. There really isn't. There isn't.
Not, dude.
Because if they're standing in the way of voters for that long, Democrats got multiple terms with FDR. Republicans should get multiple terms with our president.
I completely agree.
Oh, he's rattling their cages.
No, I completely agree.
I love it. We've hit.
And Project 2025 says
clickbait
that
here.
he has a right to a third term.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I agree.
All right. You guys ready for some variety?
Yes.
Always.
All right. So it's Rich Guy. I love this story so much. Can we play clip 3, please, Spaghetti?
So
there's a banana for our audio-only listeners. It's on a wall, and it's called art. This man purchased it. He simply pulled the banana off the wall, which was duct taped. He peeled the banana. He's looking at the banana, and then he eats the banana.
He paid $6.2 million at auction for this. It was art of like this artist put a banana on a wall and he like duct taped it, and then like looking further into it, apparently like every few weeks or whatever he would change the banana. Also, it'd be just like a rotten banana taped to this wall.
Dude, it's the best thing ever. So a cryptocurrency entrepreneur who bought the banana for 6.2, as you said, ate the fruit in Hong Kong. It was duct taped to the wall, and they called it art. I mean, first of all, this is such a great cultural critique in so many ways. Like, I don't know this guy from Adam, but the idea that you pay $6.2 million to just completely degrade their marketplace of art is the funniest shit I've seen in a long time.
I initially had the same reaction, right? And then I, as I frequently do, I dug deep. I read a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's what you do.
It says here the Italian artist Maurizio Catalan was who made this. Mm-hmm. So here we have millions of dollars, and we've got.
But it paid that guy.
We've got an Italian who's for art getting paid $6 million. This is your classic money laundering. Like Italian people have been doing this since God knows when. This isn't about art. They're at it again in plain sight because they want everyone to see it. They want to be like, oh, it's because of the art.
Spaghetti, are we going to take this? Are we going to take this? I mean, first of all, did the turkey lasagna work out over Thanksgiving?
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, it's terrific.
It's good.
How do people feel about Smug's rhetoric?
They're not too pleased. I've noticed the comments.
I'm a truth teller. No one likes it when they hear the truth.
Have they had some issues? Was that a dinner table discussion at any point? It was. It was. So he's indicated yes, it was, and they were displeased with your.
You give $6.2 million to an Italian, it's money laundering.
Well, anyway, I like the cut of this guy's jib because he just showed up.
It's very funny.
Hey, what does that cost? And they're like, oh, it's this fine piece of art. It's like, well, it looks like a duct tape banana to the wall. What can it cost? And they're like, oh, it's from a very famous Italian artist. And he's like, oh, well, what's the price? And they're like, 6.2. And he's like, all right, well, here's the check. And then rips it off the wall and eats the banana.
Yeah. Right.
It's basically like, I mean, that's the ultimate F you to these people.
He's like, I made $6.2 trillion on Bitcoin. Nothing to me but sand off a beach.
Well, look,
give me your art.
At the end of the day, it's better than all those dumbass climate activists ruining, works of art.
Soup on
like
art.
Actual works of art.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. Well, listen, fellas. Remember our question of the day. Our question of the day is, why did Joe Biden pardon Hunter now? Like, what was it? You may have some thoughts on this. We have our own. We'll get to all of that on Thursday. I got to tell you, we're going to take you all the way through the holiday season. We are feeling festive. We're feeling good.
Yeah.
There are many things to celebrate. I hope you all have your Christmas music on, because that's like part of the deal.
And if you're looking for Christmas presents, we got some stuff in the merch store for you.
And that is an important point, because we've got several items. You've all been aware now of the napkins.
We have sold like 10,000 packets of these napkins.
Have we really?
Seriously.
Ashbrook's got them right there.
Take a look at Ashbrook here. He's got these things. These are the things that you simply don't need to say anything. We've spoken a lot about what you would say to confront a lib at a family event.
And you'll have a smile like Ashbrook's at a Christmas party when you bust these out.
Yeah. Just throw those down. Make sure everybody takes one.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Yeah.
It also provides you that uncomfortable moment, and I know you guys have all had this, where you're at a family member's house, wherever, for a cocktail party or a dinner, and you have a glass that they've given you, and you set it down somewhere.
Right.
And then someone...
Right on the wood. How dare you?
And then someone comes and like puts a coaster or something underneath it.
Yeah.
Because you're like, didn't see the coaster, but they act like somehow you fucked up because it's like not readily available. You can be that guy now to rush behind. And I don't care where they set the drink.
That's really good.
They could set it on like Corian, which makes, it make no difference. But like, just make sure you set it on there and look at them like, oh, you're trying to ruin my place.
or just carry them with you.
Yeah.
When you go visit them, use it as your own coaster.
Just use it as your own coaster.
But it's not just napkins. We also have golf balls.
Ashbrook's QVC over here.
We also have golf balls. Yeah, there you can see the Ruthless logo there
Pro
on the Titleist
V1s?
Pro V1 ball. So you too can lose this one in the woods. And when your friends behind you see it, they will know that you're a fan of the program.
The difference is that when you lose one and someone finds that one, it's almost automatically a hole-in-one.
Yeah.
So you're going to be in good shape with all those. You can get all those. Do we have to go to the subdomain?
Well, you don't have to. You can go to store.ruthlesspodcast.com or just go to ruthlesspodcast.com and click on the store icon.
And if you're looking for other stuff, there's a lot of other stuff in there. We got some requests for some vests, things, and other things. Things have been kind of flying off the shelf a little bit, so we're trying to keep everything in stock.
And that's what it says here. It says order by Saturday, December 7th to get delivery by Christmas.
Yeah.
There you go.
December 7th, this week.
And Michael is back there working his ass off.
Well, he's
sewing
painting golf
these,
balls.
Yeah, he's painting the golf balls.
Yeah.
He's printing the napkins. He's sewing the hoodies. Yeah. And he's going to be working up until 11:59 p.m. on December the 6th.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm orchestrating an elaborate sweatshop in this office. You should see the rubber gloves, the stations.
Like Santa's little elf.
Yeah.
So like and subscribe, and with that, we're going to be with you. But for this episode, I think we did it, Smug.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode. Gentlemen, thank you so much, Minions. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving and looking forward to more winning. So until next time, Minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you on Thursday. Stay ruthless.